Welcome back to another evening of Scotch Hour. This is episode 81. I am Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
We are 81, right? Episode
81.
Okay.
8 plus 1 equals 9.
Sweet. All right. So this evening, we're gonna dive into a new Scotch here. It is from Costco. It's a Kirkland signature 19-year Speyside single malt Scotch. Apparently, it's from Alexander Murphy and Company.
AMC. Sure, its initials with someone else.
Got to buy some of that AMC stock, huh?
That's right.
And then from there, we have our shout-outs and get-it-togethers, followed up by a restaurant review where we went to Parry's Pizzeria and Taphouse. And then our Smarter Challenge, which is that we had to go do something to pamper ourselves, talk a little bit about where we went, why we chose it, some of the health benefits.
Scotch Reviewed.
What do we know about this Kirkland here?
All right, so here is a new adventure down the single malt Scotch trail. And this is that we don't exactly know. They're going, Costco is going firmly into the night, not sharing where they're procuring their single malt scotches from. What they're letting us know is Alexander Murray & Co., AMC, is the supplier, the bottler, and also the distiller, but not necessarily they themselves, because they actually work with so many very well-known, distinguished distilleries. So with that, it's a Speyside Scotch. We know that much. Based on the bottle, like they've put some heft in this bottle. They wanted it to look good, and the label does look sharp. Looks very naval in ways to me. Dragon almost looks like a Lannister dragon. Game of Thrones, or
is it a dragon or a lion?
It's more of a lion.
Okay.
More of that lion, and also a little bit like the Lagavulin.
Nice. Now, here's one thing I noticed, and I know I chose it this week, but it did not have a canister.
Cheap bastards.
So the price point of this one here is about $69. It's a 19-year. Didn't have a canister, and I think this is kind of maybe a new trend that you're kind of telling me about. You said you went to Total Wine and More, and you've seen, what was it? Is it Glenlivet?
It was Glenfiddich.
Oh, Glenfiddich.
And Glenlivet, actually, yeah. Some of the middle range Glenlivet and Glenfiddich varieties were bottle only. They weren't coming, particularly the 15-year Glenfiddich didn't have any of that beautiful purple tin.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this is a way to kind of bypass inflation, because you had mentioned earlier too, was it 2 episodes ago maybe, where you mentioned that these distilleries are spending about 20% of the cost on the packaging itself.
Bottling and packaging, yes.
So maybe this might be more of a trend that we're seeing going forward. If it is, I guess this is a good place as any to start with a bottle without a tin. Although I do really miss like pulling the bottle out of the tin and seeing the what that label or how it varies from the tin itself, and it's like a surprise. It's like opening up a present, in my opinion.
Well, there's that piece, and there's the other piece, which is a lot of scotches are meant to, you find a great one and say, this is great. You go back and you buy a case, and then over the next 12 years, maybe you have one a year, you special events, maybe it lasts 3 years and you have 4 bottles a year. But throughout that time, you don't want the light hitting it. You don't want it prematurely aging, because light does have that effect. It has an effect on the scotch, which was the purpose of the canister or the tin. For me, what I can tell you right now, giving you guys feedback, if you want it, you don't have to take it, but I will pay an extra $4 for a great tin if it's a great scotch. I like literally, if you want to have the 2 options with tin, $4 more, I would pay it. Some of the tins I'd pay $10 more for and not even like think twice about.
I agree with that. I do think, the tin is an important part of the packaging, and I really do like it. And I think it's also kind of cool how they do change it up over time. I mean, I think right behind you have maybe 2 different years of Talisker, and you can see kind of like there is a difference from one year to the next, where one is just more like the gray, white, and blue tones, and then the next year afterwards, they started adding in some of that red or the brick or clay of the earth. And so I do think the tins or the boxes actually add quite a bit to the presentation of a good Scotch, and also, as you mentioned, the protection of it.
Yeah, and Dalmore, you mentioned one great example. Talisker is probably one of the greatest examples because there was a dynamic change in that box in 1 year's period. Dalmore is less obvious, but the stag got so much bigger and they changed its placement on the box, which was only smart. Like, why were you messing around with the little one? Go big or go home.
I agree. And I also really enjoy a lot of the Ardbeg's designs on their boxes.
Art. It's art.
It is. It's definitely art.
So with this journey, we can make our own predictions. Maybe that can be part of our tasting note is, man, if we had to guess where in Speyside we thought this one might come from, throw it a little curve. We're not guaranteeing it. We're not actually saying that. It's just our guesstimate. It is a nice foil, I will say. The bottle itself is with heft. It is what you would typically find a nice Bordeaux or great wine that they're intentionally putting in a thicker bottle to protect it, but also to give that great presentation, which is very important. I mean, let's face it, you don't want to go to a wedding and invite 200 guests and not have a formal presentation.
And on the bottle itself, is it embossed or what is it there, or some kind of a?
It is within the glass. There is their symbol once again. I think it's just the way it is formed. You can tell that when they did the bottle, it's a 2-piece bottle, and then they meet the 2 pieces together. So when they poured it, that's one of the things they did was make sure they got that great symbol on there. I'm trying to think of who else has done that recently. I think Buchanan scotches have a tendency to have something like that. I will say, all right, they upped their game right here with the dark wood cork top. You got the smoke and the mist coming out, a nice pop. And, again, some people say this sort of thing doesn't matter, but the cork, like it's real cork, it's not pressed.
Having a real cork does matter. It matters in wine and it matters in high-end liquor or spirits. It has a nice color to it.
It does.
It looked a lot lighter in the bottle, I thought. All right. Well, cheers, my friend. Time to warp speed it.
All right. Cheers.
Okay, so this Kirkland 19 Speyside. Some of the things that first come to mind to me is the first thing I look at here is the color. To me, I put down a dark brass. It's funny because like when I first purchased it and picked it up, I was like, oh, it doesn't look like it's too dark in the bottle. But the thing is, it's a clear bottle, but it actually is dark in the bottle. So I don't know what the hell I was thinking. But now that I see it here in the glass, I'm like, yeah, that was a dark brass color. And I was smoking crack or something to begin with.
Don't do that, man. I know Biden gave out the free pipes, but don't do it.
Yeah, he gave out the free pipes, and I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking that day, but I do like the color. It is in that kind of wheelhouse of like the coloring that I do like. Now, as far as the nose or the bouquet, some of the hints that I'm picking up here is that I'm getting like basically sherry with some dark fruit, and there's something else there. I just can't. I haven't been able to pinpoint it yet. So maybe when we hear your analysis, it might be what I was thinking is the other thing there. And I'm not really sure exactly what it is, but it does have the bouquet on it is, and like this whole Scotch, in my opinion, has a nice elegance or delicate, or it's kind of delicate and elegant. Some characteristics there. I mean, because it's nothing in there really like shoots out at me. As far as like, hey, I'm here, and yeah, there are some nice complexities, but yet it's just not something that you would normally get from like maybe some of the other places that we've tasted or some of the other distilleries. Now on the palate, I am getting some like sherry sweetness with hints of dark chocolate and burnt orange. The dark chocolate and the orange, maybe it's not exactly burnt orange, but it kind of does remind me of like those, like when you go to like the mall, like the old mall places, and they had like the Miss Kavanaugh's where you had the like chocolate cover, like orange sticks.
Okay.
So that's kind of like what I'm getting there, but it's more on the dark chocolate side than the milk chocolate side. So I'm saying dark chocolate there. And with the finish, I'm getting like oak with some clove and malt. Probably that's where I was kind of talking about the Whoppers from earlier. But in any case, this is a very light-bodied. It's very elegant. It's very easy to drink. Honestly, I don't think this is a Scotch that you could drink while you're smoking a cigar, because I think the cigar would overpower it.
Watch me.
But what I do think it would complement is if you get like one of those like rich dark chocolate cakes. I forget where. Maybe is it over at Maggiano's where they have like that good dark chocolate cake?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I think that would probably complement this single malt Scotch. I do like it. I probably would take it to a poker game. I think it's, you're not going to impress anybody with the labeling. I think some people, when they look at Kirkland or something like that, they're going to be like, oh, all right, whatever. But honestly, I think it's a well-made Scotch. It has, like I said, it has, nice complexity to it. It's definitely elegant, easy to drink, very quaffable. I found it fairly smooth. And, yeah, I would recommend people to pick it up from me for $69. I think it's a pretty decent price. The one thing, like I said, I think the one drawback for me, though, if I'm paying the $69, I really do want that tin.
yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like I do recommend it. I think it's a good bottle, a good drinkable bottle, and one you can share with friends.
Well, for me, right off the bat, I'm right there with you with the color. The color is a draw. It brings me right in. For a minute there, I forget that the bottle doesn't have a tin. I really do. And I look at it, and it is that deep amber brass color, so enticing. Again, draws me right in. Also, very much so makes me think of, as we've visited so many Highland scotches in particular with sherry cask finishes, they typically do, to get some of that flavor that I think we're experiencing here, char the hell out of the inside of those barrels before they age the whiskey. With that, the closest Scotch I think we've had to this as far as color was the Macallan Edition 6. I still think that has it beat, but this is probably the closest we have come in comparison to that. Now this, I think, where that definitely has this beat, not only with price, but with flavors, this doesn't have some of that same maturity. So on the nose for me, and it's interesting because sherry is very sweet in many cases. It has a hint right off the bat on my nose of sherry. So it smells sweet, but not that necessarily creamy vanilla sweetness that we've experienced with some of these, but it's still got that sherry, and it almost literally, it's almost like I can smell the sherry cask, ex-sherry cask burnt, and then this aged in it, and I get a little bit of that oak as well right on the nose, which is nice. It's pleasant, so it's sweet, and it's also a little dry. A good nose. If it was a cologne, most people could wear it. Now you get to the palate. And again, this is where it's kind of interesting because it's sweet, it's creamy, but it's not custardy. And I was looking back through the notes, and one of the things that struck me is I see a lot of resemblances in this that we had with the Macallan 12 double cask. So you get some of those almost like to your point, burnt orange, almost like a burnt caramel in there.
Yeah, I was going
to
think
butterscotch.
So remember when I was saying I didn't know that there was a missing piece? I think it might have been that caramel or the burnt butterscotch. Yeah, so I think that's what it is.
That's hiding in there, and I think the reason it's hard to pick out is because the citrus is also like the flavors have melded. They've been brought together, and I think it's a little bit of orange and a little bit of lemon. And it's kind of like when you get that lemoned iced tea, that lemon can bring out a ton of that tea flavor. And I think that's some of what's going on here. Is that it works in some ways, but I don't know if it's like the ultimate win. The finish for sure. I get again that lemon orange, citrusy hint, followed by, this is where it gets interesting again, a medium flavor of clove, nutmeg, and again, a hint of ginger. It's got so much that's thrown in there. It's just a hint though. And then it is, to me, a medium long finish. It dries, interestingly enough, and then the oak represents itself. But it's not necessarily that wonderful Oban seaside oak. It's more of this aged oak that's been soaked, and it's not bad, but it's not like young and fruitful. It's like it's been sitting around a while, which a 19-year-old Scotch should absolutely resemble. Now, a couple of things I like to remember about this is I remember seeing an interview with the gentleman, I call him the king of the House of Dalmore. Have you ever seen the guy? He's always wearing a suit, his pockets square. Yeah, dude, the guy just cracks me up. I'm like, I want your life, dude. You're just always out there. And he's got his little glass. It's always the same little glass. He's holding it just so perfectly. I'm like, you're something out of a movie, dude. Great character. I love it. Don't stop. This is all props, positive ones. But it reminds me of something he said, and that was age at the end of the day means almost nothing to a good Scotch. And when I think of that, I think, oh yeah, this is perfect for Costco shoppers. It really is, because the Costco shopper is looking for value, and the immediate thing, if you're not a true Scotch connoisseur, 19 years for $70 seems like a great deal. I'll tell you what's a better deal: a Macallan 12 double cask for $54 or $59. The 12 years is more robust, more easily deciphered by a palate. And to me, that's the one out of these two. Even if this is aged for an extra 7 years, I'll take the 7-year younger Scotch, which ultimately has more flavor. And it could be that this Scotch has just matured so long in those casks that it brought out a little too much, and it's like nothing else. You start out with two pieces of a polymer, and you put them together, and at first they're both liquid, and then once they start to chemically bind, the smells become one. You had two smells, now they become one. Shouldn't be eating it, by the way. We're basically talking about like 2-part epoxies. But once you mix them together, it's one smell. It's all together, and you wouldn't be tasting or smelling the two different parts. And with that, I think the Macallan have been out there, and they have literally said, yeah, our rare cask isn't necessarily aged super old, but it's great because it's the rare cask, and it's all about getting it right when it's ready, not letting something age too much. But I think what they did here was brilliant marketing for a Costco shopper. At the front, this seems like it is unbeatable, and it really is a good Scotch.
I think it's a good value. I mean, you're getting a decent Scotch. It's not one that, as you were talking about, like if you're not like a big Scotch drinker, you won't be turned off by it. And I think if you are a big time Scotch drinker, you won't really necessarily frown about it. It won't be like your favorite bottle of Scotch, but you'll find it to be very drinkable, especially at that price range.
Yeah. So for me, like the wins, color, like well-rounded ultimately at the end of the day. It does remind me a little bit of the Dalmore 12 as well. There are pieces, particularly because the Dalmore is the master of the sherry cask finish, and they've done a nice job here with this one. They really have, but it's not the finish. It's the front. It's almost backwards compared to with Dalmore, because Dalmore makes sure you get that at the end. With this, though, would I take it to a poker night? Absolutely. Would I take it to just a fun gathering? Maybe, maybe not. Again, it's about $20 more expensive than I think I would take to a bunch of guys if we're just playing cards or any number of things. Especially if we're talking about presentation. The two little things that I say I love most about this. I do love the fact that they went with a dark wood cork topper. That's a win. Like, way to set yourself apart. It's a little piece, but that is also something where a Scotch connoisseur will get to that point and kind of forget that it didn't come in a canister.
Yeah, I agree.
And then the other one is the color. Those are the two biggest wins. I do. The third would be the bottle. They did a great job with the bottle. It actually reminds me of the Ferrari Carano Tresor wine with heft and the thick glass, as well as the work of the glass. The two things that I wish they would have done differently, one, the canister or box, put it in something presentable, especially if this is something that you're saying is value and you're going to give it for Christmas. That way I can actually put it in a box. Or, you know what, guys and gals, you were trying to save $3, $5 by not paying for that fancy box that spelled the name, to throw some wrapping paper around or just throw in a stocking. Now you're going to have to go spend those $3 or those $5 on a gift bag. Like, you're paying it either way. From a gift perspective, like, it's going. It's just a matter of Costco does some things very well, and they didn't do this from a pricing standpoint. They did it from a profit standpoint. The only other thing for me is just this littlest hint. I love the foil top, the blue and white majestic navel, but then they went right down here with the same two colors, except they're kind of not the same two colors. It's more of a cream as opposed to the bright white. I wish they would have matched the two. For me, that would have been the other coup de grace little piece, especially since it's not in a box, if they had matched those.
Well, in the 19 there, I think with, like, I know with the Kirkland signature, like, their logo is kind of like that black box with the white, and I think usually the red in signature. I think here they could have, like, gone with the that naval blue and kind of, like, just left the signature in Kirkland in white, just to kind of keep that same color coding going. And really the 19, I know they did that kind of like a foil type of, like, a gold foil. I'm not really sure that really goes well. I think if you're trying to use that kind of gold foil that they're using there to kind of have the color of the Scotch kind of like match that, then okay. But I do agree with you, like, the color coding could have been slightly bit better.
Those are the only two things that really, any given day, I would choose the Macallan 12. Pay a little bit less.
And the funny part is, like, if, like, at least at the Costco where that's by our place here, is on the shelving, right? Literally, like, almost like the next part over is the Macallan 12 double cask. and it is, like, I think almost like $10 or $20 less than this one. And it's kind of like, yeah, you know, like, obviously if I was going to buy one for myself, I probably would go with the Macallan 12 myself as well. But, like, it's not really a knock to the Kirkland 19 Speyside. I think it's a really, I think it's a good bottle, and I think it's worth the money. There's just certain things, like, I have slightly bit more preferences, and really, I know it sounds stupid and silly maybe to some people, but that box makes a difference. I'd rather pay less money. Go with the Macallan 12 and be able to pull it out of the box, because to me that's kind of like part of it. That's
especially if you're bringing it anywhere or you're not finishing it that night. You're putting it back in the box. You're taking care of it. It's also a Gen Z thing, I imagine.
It's definitely part of the ritual of it. You know, you're pulling it out. You're like, yes. That's just me though. So yeah, that's all I really have to say. I think it's a good bottle. I think it's one that you can share with people. And
I have one more tasting note, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm going crazy. Do you get the slightest hint of some sort of mint, either peppermint or spearmint? Like I feel like my mouth is clean.
It is clean. I never really thought about it. But.
Like I feel like I just brushed my teeth after I take a sip of this scotch. That's kind of a win for someone who doesn't really like that musky, malty flavor in a scotch. It's just weird to me because this whole time I'm like, I know I didn't just brush my teeth. I went out of my way. I drank a Gatorade and then I drank a water so I could clear my palate. And I'm like, I feel like I just brushed my teeth. The only things I could think of that would be creating that would be either a peppermint or a spearmint.
Well, I think at this point, I don't really want to say yes or no to it because you know how sometimes like the power of suggestion, now that you say like mint or spearmint, now it's almost like maybe I do get that, and I don't like. I would want to like probably start from scratch, maybe tomorrow or the next day, and retry it and see if I pick it up.
Yeah, I'm saying in particular, peppermint. like that when you've been chewing on that piece of gum so long, it really has no flavor left. That little teeny bit of peppermint, that's what I'm tasting as one of the points in this scotch. Is interesting.
It's quite possibly that it's in there. Like I said, for me, it was a little bit difficult for me to even pick up that caramel, and I thought that was good that you picked it up because, like, as you were talking, I was about to mention that, and I didn't want to interrupt you, and I was going to mention that, and then you said it. I'm like, yep, that's what it was, because sometimes like as we have these scotches in our glasses, and the more time it has to aerate and stuff like that. A lot of more and more flavors tend to start to come out. And as you're doing yours, and I was taking a sip, I'm like, that's what it was. It's caramel. And then all of a sudden you said it, and I'm like, yep, bingo. And that's why I had to jump in there. So I apologize.
You're good. No worries.
It's time for our shout-outs.
My shout-outs go to all the investors who are in it for the long game. And not taking risks on potentially huge wins. If you just want to do that, just go out and buy a bunch of lotto tickets with your money. Your long-term impact may be the same. You may eventually win that Powerball and have invested in all of the great stocks. But I saw recently Robinhood reported that the majority of their users are now purchasing stocks based on the company itself. So whether it's a product they sell or a service they provide, they're investing in something they believe in, not just the next AMC. I'm not saying AMC has done poorly, by the way. They've done well, or the next Bed Bath & Beyond for the people crying about that, or the next meme stocks, or however you want to phrase it. I give you a shout out because it's hard. Because we all want to win the next day. We all want to make this game, this retirement come quicker, that fight shorter. And that's not always the game to play, especially if you're looking out for others. The others could be kids, they could be parents. So with any of that, again, shout out goes to those guys.
Sometimes it benefits to have diamond hands. And when the market starts to become volatile, having diamond hands does become a good thing to have. And there's that one investor that you talked about, something Pena is his last name. He mentions like when the stocks, I think it was him. It's either him or a Rothschild. I forget which one it was. But they were mentioning like, when the market starts crashing and there's blood in the streets, even if it's your blood, keep buying because that's when everything's on sale. Because, you'll notice like, when the market's crashing and everyone's like hurting, if you're still investing and you're buying, you're actually gaining. You're gaining in your stock, so that way when it does turn around. But you also have to be wise, right? You can't be like buying something foolish when the markets are down.
Absolutely. So. I'm going to give you one more flavor to look for in this scotch tomorrow.
Okay.
I mentioned a mix of orange and lemon. I think it's actually more precise than that. I think it's grapefruit.
Okay.
Grapefruit and mint.
All right. So my shout out goes to, and I'm going to just preface this as like, we are now starting to leave the summer months and start going into the fall months, which means we are now heading into Halloween season. And I will watch, I'll try to watch either a horror movie every night or a horror TV show, one or the other, depending on how much time I have during the month of October. And recently, I've seen 3 horror movies in the theaters. The first one was The Invitation, which we talked about last week, and that was terrible.
Yeah, that was my pick too. That was a total
but the next 2 horror films I saw were The Barbarian and Pearl. And really, both of these movies are kind of twisted, but I think they're great. And they were definitely a fun ride if you like to watch horror movies. And really, the thing with Pearl, it is so weird and awkward because it's like trying to take place, I believe, in the 50s, or actually, maybe no, 1918. I think it's 1918, 1919, something like that. And it's just really, really weird. And it does kind of move kind of slow. And some of the things that you expect that would happen doesn't happen, but the ending is so twisted. It's kind of it was worth the wait.
That's what she said.
And Barbarian, that movie is it has a pretty, it's kind of a similar story that you probably seen before, but it has that nice new modern twist to it where they're dealing with Airbnb and some messed up stuff that happens in an Airbnb place that you rent. And it's also kind of a fun ride, in my opinion. So I just want to give a shout out to those to those creators and all those people involved in those 2 horror movies that have come out slightly bit before the Halloween season. Get it togethers.
This one continues to go to Biden and his administration for suggesting that our military, our armed forces, in order to make ends meet, use SNAP or food stamps, with different names for it, but SNAP or food stamp to make ends meet when he's given billions of dollars away to another country. It just kills me every time I think about it. Every time I think about that these people are often people who put their lives on the line if they need to. It can be the National Guard trying to save people from a flood. They do occasionally die themselves trying to save others. And it truly disgusts me that it's gotten there.
Yeah, so he basically told the military they need to use food stamps.
Yeah, that if they want to supplement their income so that they can make ends meet and feed their families, to use SNAP. It was the administration. It wasn't particularly him, but ultimately you're in charge of your administration.
That's disgusting.
It is. It's just I can't even fathom it. It's when he was given that graduation speech at the Naval Academy, and he called everyone their sons of bitches, and I was just because they didn't like his comment. And he called them stupid sons of bitches, actually. And it's just you are so wrong for a group of people we're trying to make our best, to feel like they're the best because they're the ones providing us protection, and then you're going to treat them like that? That's like telling a dog that just took a bullet, you're an idiot. Go die. Get away from me. You're bleeding on my carpet. Go outside.
Yeah, so my get it together has to go to the city of Denver. So I read it in an article in Epoch Times today that I think it was today, it might have been yesterday. It had to be today, pretty sure. That Denver is one of the very few cities here that is now going to start giving $1,000 to the homeless. And as I read this, I was just getting so upset because I'm do these people not understand the basics of economics? Even if you don't understand the basics of economics, you can definitely understand how this affects people through psychology. When you make someone dependent upon you, they will no longer be able to do those things on their own. They'll start becoming dependent and basically asking for the handout. And I'm not sure if they're doing this on purpose because they want American society to fail, or Or what? I know they try to spin it off as they're trying to help people, but honestly, I think this is bad for not only them, but it's also going to be bad for the economy. And there's plenty of studies out there that show that those who improve their skill set while they're like on unemployment are the ones who find more success than those who just continue to stay on the wayside and taking the handout.
Restaurant Review.
All right. Well, this evening we ventured to Parry's Pizza in Highlands Ranch.
Yeah, so Parry's Pizzeria and Taphouse. I think it's the inside's okay. Has like a lot of brick and on the walls, and has a nice patio out front. So I think during the summertime or in the fall or spring, it's probably a nice place to sit outside in the patio. A lot of TVs there, so you can watch sports. They do have like sports deals or deals going on when the NFL is playing and stuff like that. Would I take a date there? I'm going to jump right here into this part here. Would I take a date there? Not first date. Maybe if I was dating someone for a while, sure. If it's on the way and maybe you grab an appetizer, possibly. Would I meet some buddies there to watch a game or hang out? Sure. And chit chat? I would do that. I did like the patio area, so I think the patio area is a plus. The wait staff was pretty decent. I got to give a shout out to our waitress. I don't know what her name was, but she had a broken foot or something, and she was still rocking it like a champ. And as far as the food, well, I went with the Lexington Avenue chicken salad with buffalo style. So they basically put buffalo sauce on my chicken, and it actually tasted pretty good. The one thing I have a hard time eating salads because I don't like iceberg lettuce too much, as we talked about the one time. And I think that's where their fail was with this salad, is that they used iceberg lettuce. So it's just kind of like getting like a large dinner salad with them putting chicken on there. And I think that was a little bit of a fail. But the flavors itself with the buffalo and the ranch and like that all kind of mixed together, I think it kind of made it taste a little bit better. The Parmesan fries, which I think you got an order for yourself earlier, and then I got an order for myself second, like later on. I thought those were okay. Nothing special. They're tasty. They're very messy.
Yeah, that Parmesan, that was real Parmesan chunks. It didn't just...
Yeah. But I did enjoy it. Overall, I think it's like the place is nothing special. I just think I found it really to be like just average. I'd probably give it like maybe like a 6.5 or a 7. It just didn't really like, nothing about the place really was like, oh, this is awesome. Or like, this is terrible. It just kind of seemed mediocre. Like you can go to any city and find any kind of average restaurant to be basically the same. So yeah, that's the reason why I give about a 6.5 to a 7.
Well, from Parry's Pizza and Taphouse, I had a slightly different experience. Coming up, the outside looks pretty cool, right? When you're walking up to the front door, they've got a little circle drive right in front. They're right next to a couple other restaurants, including another Pizza Jets Pizza and then Cuba. When I saw the outside, I'm like, this is going to be fun. And then I walked inside. I'm like, what is this brick shit house? I'm like, I understand wanting privacy, but like it didn't look comfy. It didn't look cozy. It looks like they wanted people to get in and out, which is absolutely a study about things that play into roles, including ergonomics. Like, do you want people to stay? There's a lot of people who get paid statistics on, yes, your average guest will stay this long if you make it this comfortable and you satiate them to this level. So there were some interesting pieces there. For me, man, my beer, I had the Disco Wolf IPA. That beer slapped. It was delicious. It was great. Really, truly enjoyed it. For me, the Parmesan fries are what I started with, didn't finish with them. And they were They were very good. They weren't outstanding. I'll still take some great truffle oil fries over them any day, but they were very good. Then I went, and I think this was my win for the night, was the Bronx Baller meatball sandwich with melted mozzarella on top, and then the bread wasn't too hard. Sometimes they make you a mozzarella and meatball sandwich, and they toast the bread or something, and they make it so hard that it feels like it's going to cut your gums while you're biting into it. This did not. This was perfect. And part of the reason that you want it not soggy, but soft is so that it catches the meatballs, that it holds the sauce and the cheese and they don't all fall out. That sandwich was amazing. It was a lot of food. Greatly enjoyed it. I agree with you though. I had a side salad. That's how I wrapped up my dinner. And the side salad did kind of leave me wanting. The server, she was the win at the end of the day, besides my Disco Wolf beer. That was great. But at the end of the day, if I'm not going for the Disco Wolf beer or that sandwich, I don't know what I'd ever go back for. Nothing else really jumped out at me and said, hey, this is it. This is why you come to this place. Besides maybe the service. So food for me was a 7. The atmosphere for me was a 5. And part of that was because it's a beautiful evening in the fall, right? And it's not too hot. The sun's still out, and you sit on the patio, and then you got that little running around, crying kids, and the people with their dogs pulling the chairs all over the place, jumping on the wait staff. I'm not okay with this. I was just like, and I won't come back. That's literally the reason I would not go back. So would I bring a date there? If she loved dogs, then I probably wouldn't be dating her. So no, she's not going to love dogs. We're not going to go there. That doesn't mean I don't like dogs. I just don't want your dog jumping all over me. I don't want to go to the store and have your dog licking my shoes and my ankle. That's disgusting. And people were okay with dogs doing that. I am not. So please stop that. Just think about my kid licking your ankle. Yeah, you're calling the police. But other than that, would I bring a date there? No, probably not. Would I just meet a friend in passing if that was a convenient location? Yeah, it wasn't bad from that standpoint. And the service was great. Like, kudos to them for keeping up a positive attitude. I just didn't like the environment. It wasn't super welcoming. And then, a couple of things like the little, man, I don't know what to call him other than like grown-up boy who came in the patio and opened the gate and then just left it swinging open. I was like, really? Those are your manners? And you're meeting your parents and then your girlfriend follows you 5 minutes later? Like, this is the type of precedent you're trying to set for our future? No, not okay. So for me, my overall score right there with you, 6.5. The tragedy is the service was easily an 8. Our server really was great, and what Noah said was completely true. She had one of those boots that went from her toes all the way up to her knee, and she was plowing through it. So awesome job. Thank you for giving me a little bit of that hope that people still understand, yeah, you still got to pay the bills. It's not just about staying at home and collecting some sort of payment.
This week we were supposed to go do something to pamper ourselves and I guess share where we went, what we had done, and maybe some health benefits to it. And we'll go ahead and start with you.
All right. Well, for me, it wasn't about so much the body benefit as the mind. So what I did was I took my day off and I did start and I renewed my membership at the Denver Art Museum because that's something that normally really frees me. I go in there, I get excited, I see a few Monets, a few Rembrandts, I visit a few sites, and then there's so many little restaurants around. So the first piece was the first piece was putting on a Robert Graham shirt, the wizard here. Had to wear the wizard to go to the art museum. Got compliments there on it. So that was also, it's just fun. It's like, I don't take those as flirts or anything else. I know some people find those totally offensive. No, that's okay. If you see something that's great, let people know. That just before that though, I ventured over, and I had been there once before for a breakfast, a quick in and out. But I ventured over to Pint's Pub and I had a few beers. So the beers I had to write these down because not beers you see probably anywhere else. You got the Phone Box Red Ale and the Airedale Pale Ale. Airedale Pale Ale is all right. Nothing great, but that Red Box Red Ale was fantastic. So in the midst of this, ordered the cheese and cracker. I think it was $10. Didn't know it was going to come out a thin crust, basically saltwater cracker the size of a 24-inch pizza, completely covered with shaved Havarti cheese with little bits of dill and slices of green apple. It was delicious, but it was so much I couldn't finish it. And that was even though I took 2 beers. And then the real remarkable thing about this place, and I hope that financially they're doing well. I know COVID really had an impact, but is that they have over 100 scotches, single malt scotches, and because I knew it was my favorite, I went with the Lagavulin 16. They bring it out in this wonderful little presentation with the glass and another with a sterling silver, stainless steel straw to put in little bits of water to get the scotch to right where you want it. One of the things we've learned from previous experiences, a gift for Noah for his birthday from his mom at Stranahan's was a little bit of water brings out the nose, brings out the flavor, has an actual chemical reaction with the scotch to make it better. It was a fun experience. The art museum was great. Super excited about an upcoming exhibit there. It's called Saints, Sinners, Lovers, and Fools, and that one looks like a lot of fun. And then for me, part of the mental thing was just, okay, am I experiencing different pieces of life? I haven't been to Red Lobster or seen the movie Easy A in years, but that's kind of how I finished out my night. Was in Easy A, there's a scene in a Red Lobster, so I had to watch the movie, relax, because I love that movie, that family in that movie. If all families could be that way, probably life would be a lot better for most people. And then Red Lobster was fun. I had the Seafarers Feast, so you had your broiled lobster tail, and then I had these 2 skewers of jumbo sea scallops, the garlic shrimp, the garlic and butter shrimp, and then their Walt's favorite shrimp. So bride, slice, filleted shrimp, battered and fried, all of it delicious, all of it stuffing. The salad, the side salad I had, because you get 2 sides. I chose fries, which were okay. I didn't finish them. I couldn't finish them. But the side salad with the blue cheese, the opposite of tonight's salad. Tonight, as I finished my meal, I ate this salad, and I ate half of it, and I put the rest away. It just felt limp. It felt like it had been in a refrigerator for a day. This salad was the opposite. Fresh, crisp lettuce, blue cheese, everything had the full flavors expected. It was actually a very simple salad, but it satiated. It was great. And then again, finishing that movie that night with watching Easy A was just perfect for me because it was just like, okay, I got to go live that little piece of like remembering what it was like to go to Red Lobster. I don't think I'd been to a Red Lobster in over a decade. And I'm not saying I'm racing right back. The prices were great. The service was great. But man, it's not cheap either. I would at the end of the day, on an average occasion, if I wasn't relating my experience to a movie, go get a steak. So then, and I don't do this every night either. Don't do this too terribly often, but came home, finished the evening with a wonderful Caesar cigar and a little dram of scotch. And it was just like my pamper me day for my own mental health. I've been trying to do that more on days off and really just enjoy that. At one point, I did want to go get a massage, and I love the Hand and Stone place that's right there by Cherry Creek. I think it's at 3rd and Columbine. They were booked. And like when I looked around, I'm like, so I'm not getting a massage this week. I didn't realize masseurs were in such high demand with everything going on. And a lot of people are taking care of themselves better, including massages. So my day ended up being an investment into my own future because I really do find it interesting to go to the Denver Art Museum. I had a favorite piece of art, but I love to go to the Denver Art Museum, notate one favorite piece of art, and then really think about what that means to me. And this particular piece of art is by Julie Buffalo Head. She is an American Indian artist. I didn't know any of this till after I came home and I read up on it. The painting was done in 2018. It is a very large painting. It's like 80 inches by 50 inches. And it is called Blood and a Single Tree. And the only tree is outside the window that the bird is looking at.
Send that so we can put it on there.
I will. But it impacted me, and I'm like, what does this mean? It absolutely is perfect because she's the artist, Julie Buffalo Head, is very much so into examples, trying to give metaphors and other things about how society has impacted the American Indians. And I have recently heard that American Indians are actually starting to push back. And because they have so many rights, they're starting to try to go around and buy land around their land and increase their own net worth, so to speak, value, because then they have those rights for casinos and gambling and not paying other taxes and not doing all these other things. And they're trying to buy more valuable land. And I hope to goodness they're doing that and they're being successful, because that's just fun. But I saw that and I was just like, I would actually love to have that on my wall. That is something where I think that's any of us have had a rough week at work. That's what we come home and we relate to. But I do look forward to going back. No, I'd love actually to go see Saints, Sinners, Lovers, and Fools when it comes out. Starts on October 16th. And fortunately we're members, because usually members get the first chance to buy the new tickets when they're first coming out. So we'll look at a date to go see that and then go to Pine's Pub, maybe review that officially on the show, get some other reviews. And but yeah, that's one of the things for me is I go in there and I look at the art and I'm like, okay, how does this really make me feel? I will tell you the one thing that I did not like was the change in art that I thought was just there for kind of a woke purpose. Did not have any significance. It was the opposite of this Native American art, which was only 4 years old, by the way, that I felt like should be represented there. The artist was born, I believe, Julie was born in 1972, so she's right about our age. And with that, maybe that's another reason I can relate, but it was really impressive. And then some of the other things I saw, I was just like, why? That's not art to me. Like, who is that art to? Help me understand. But I understand there's a political agenda at times, and that must be met, especially since it is in Denver. And Denver, as much as I love it, they're doing some weird things right now. So we'll see where all that goes. But long term, I love going to museums. The Denver Art Museum is just one of the many examples, and really looking at that art and then getting this new perspective. One of the things I want to do, Julie, I want to thank you for this, is I want to paint a massive ass piece of art like that and put it on the wall.
you know, art museums, and I think it's interesting because, like, obviously, like you mentioned, like how originally you were going to do a massage and then you couldn't find a place open that you wanted to go to, and you know, like pampering yourself, it can take many forms, and like definitely like doing something mentally like that is awesome, because art museums are incredible. Like one art museum that we both have in common that we visited is the Philadelphia Art Museum. And that place is just incredible with so much like history involved there. Some great pieces from Salvador Dali, which is one of my favorite artists. I think there was definitely an area there with Monet, which I think is one of your favorites, right?
Absolutely.
And then you had the whole like the area with the medieval like suits of armor and like the armory area, like had swords and stuff like that. And going through and seeing a great piece of art, it does challenge you to think about stuff and it does stir up emotions. And so that's something that's really great. And one of my favorite museums I've been to, or I guess two different museums, both of them being in Amsterdam. I saw the Night's Watchman by Rembrandt. Ooh. And I honestly thought it was going to be like a little tiny picture, but that thing is huge. And it's so impressive. I was like, in that art museum, like there's like tons of oil paintings all over in that art museum. And to see the Rembrandt that is like way super impressive. And then like right, almost like right next door to there, they had like a modern art surrealist museum or display going on, and that place was really cool with a bunch of messed up things in there. But but I mean, art does have a way to inspire people, to move them emotionally, get them to think, and it is a way to pamper yourself intellectually.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up the Philly Art Museum, because I think one of the things that resounds with me more about that museum than any other one I've been to, I'm sure there are those that definitely do, but with all of the different areas and how they had it set up, it was absolutely a walk through history. And you mentioned the medieval armor and all of it, though. Like, they had that for not just England or Europe from a certain period of time, but they had that for Asia for a certain period of time.
Little Japanese village in there, yeah.
And they had all these different pieces, and it was a much more immersed experience. I think that's one of the things that even Denver Art Museum is trying to say that they're doing, is they're immersing you in this experience. So what I experienced this last time was far less immersed than I've experienced in the past. So I hope they go back, but maybe they're catering to a different type or a different generation or a different feeling. But yes, the Philly, 100% agree. I felt fully immersed in there. And the same was true in Chicago. When I went to that one, it was no different. And I'll never forget the painting of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and some of these wonderful pieces of art. Again, you look at them, you see them in an art book in college, and you expect them to be, it might be, and then all of a sudden you see it's taking up this full, massive wall. It's like, how did the artist do that? Well, clearly with a ladder and help.
So, like you, originally I wanted to go do something differently to pamper myself. I wanted to go get a facial. And I couldn't find a place I would work with my time frames either. They seemed pretty well booked up, or the hours that they had open were in the middle of my work day, and I couldn't do that. So what I wanted to go do then is to go do a deprivation tank, or a float. I go to a float pod, and so I booked a time frame at NG Floats. It's INNGI Floats in Highlands Ranch. And it's actually just like probably 3-4 doors down from where we had dinner at tonight. And honestly, I thought I was actually going to do a float, where floats are basically in these pods. When you go into a float pod, it's Epsom salt and water, and the water is at the same temperature as your body. And so when you go into the pod, you're floating, and you're not supposed to be able to tell the difference between the temperature of the air, your body, or the water. And you float there, and it's basically the Epsom salt helps with detoxing the body, relaxing the muscles, helps replenish the magnesium. Most people have deficiency in magnesium in their bodies. And it helps with meditation and stuff like that. And that's what I thought I was going to do. That's what I wanted to do.
Now let's just I want to throw out there real quick. That sounds badass because of the Mandalorian and Boba Fett.
But what I ended up doing, and I think this is what kind of tossed me off, because it said floats, and I wasn't really paying attention. So I'm like, saw something that said CBD. I'm like, all right, well, CBD is supposed to be good for you. I never thought a pod would have CBD oil or CBD whatever with all that stuff, because they have to go through a filtration system every time someone floats to clean up the water. And so basically, I'm like, okay, I'll try that, And so what I ended up doing is what's called a soak and sauna. So it's kind of cool. You go into your own room, the soak and sauna. They have a tub in there, and they put the particular one that I got. I mean, they have different ones. They have the one I got was rose petals, pink Himalayan salt, and CBD. They also have a beer one. Then they have a Dead Sea with lavender, and then a Dead Sea with eucalyptus. But it's almost kind of the same principle as the float tanks, but you just you have a tub right there, and you just kind of soak in the tub, and you have like an individual infrared sauna. So you can go and move between the two. So you can soak for a little bit, go to the sauna, get the infrared sauna. That kind of is supposed to be good for your health as well, because that heat's supposed to penetrate deep into your cells because of the infrared. And so you can go back and forth. And then they also give you coconut water or just regular water for you to keep yourself hydrated throughout the whole process. And Yeah, I thought it was really kind of interesting doing the soak, but here's the thing. If I'm going to do a soak, I guess I would just probably do like a bath bomb or something like that in my house and like save like a few maybe like $50, $100. Yeah, because it costs like $109. But the upside to this though is that if you're doing that inside your house, you're not getting the infrared sauna to go along with it. And I think there's an added benefit of being able to go back and forth between the sauna and the soak. And they also have another one with the sauna and the soak, which actually I think probably would have been better, is where they have the infrared sauna with the cold, what they call as a cold plunge. And like a lot of athletes do that for their muscles for them to recover as you go from heat to cold. And I think that would have been a better option to go with if I was going to pay that amount of money, which is $109 for that. And the float, what I really wanted to do was $69.
What? They're like, here's $6 worth of salt and some water. See you in an hour.
But honestly, it was a good experience. It was nice and relaxing. After you're done with either, and this works for both the soak and sauna as well as it does with the pods, but they do have these massage, like those $8,000, $10,000 massage chairs that you get in where they like massages your feet and your hands and all that. So after you get done, you get like somewhere, I'm not sure if it's 15 or 20 minutes, but you get the massage chair for like 15, 20 minutes after you're done with that whole process. And you just come out there really relaxed and refreshed. And it was really good. And overall, the experience was great. And they also have something new, something else there with these with the massage chairs. It's called like a Escape or something like that is what they call it. But it's like they also have the same kind of massage chairs. And then they have like fans and heaters and stuff like that, all the kind of like set up with like a VR system. So that way you like go like on a escape to somewhere and you're like on a VR trip as you're getting a massage. I'm not sure that's really worth it. It seems kind of cool. It might be something to try, be dumb enough to try out once. But I definitely do know that the float pods to do the floating is actually worth it for the $69. That's on your first visit there, $69, but after that, it's $89. But I did use the float pods in Salt Lake at a place called True Rest Float. Or True Rest Spa or something like that. But anyways, it's called True Rest. It's in Provo, Utah. And after my car accident, the lawyer had me go see a chiropractor, and then I had to do massage too to kind of like they do that soft tissue stuff. And then it was recommended for me to go to do the flow pods, and that helped to like relax the muscles and stuff like that. And it actually did help out tremendously. So if you've never done a deprivation tank, there's a lot of benefits to it, and I would really recommend it. And that's kind of where I went in Colorado. NG Float Spa is actually really nice and clean. When you walk in there, they have like these, I don't know, like 3 or 4 like leather or kind of like fake leather chairs there for you to sit in while you wait for your room to be prepped. And it has like this like nice tranquil music being played as you're waiting and stuff. It's just like a really nice relaxing area, and it does well to pamper you and kind of give you the relaxation that you need.
All
right. So next week.
All right, man.
Before you do that, I challenge all of our listeners out there to go do something to pamper yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be mental, emotional, physical, lots of things.
Yep. All right. Sorry. Go ahead. Next week.
So next week, my challenge, I believe, was to come up with which would you rather be confronted by, a werewolf or a vampire? And then if you could choose, how would that look? So with that, I think really I want to go just a little bit deeper, which is what is sexier? Which is sexier, a werewolf or a vampire? So now there's 2 sides to this, which is very interesting, right? So I want us to solicit some of our friends or family. Which is sexier, a female werewolf or a female vampire? And then which is sexier, a male werewolf or a male vampire, and why? And so therefore the translation comes into, for us with the females, at least for me, for sure for you, it would be a female variation. Which would we want to be confronted by and why? How would we want that to look? If
Did you ever see that old Jim Carrey movie, First Bite?
I think, was it Jim Carrey or was it?
That was Jim Carrey in First Bite.
Which one was? It might be. I can't remember.
It's where the one he has to be like a virgin or something like that.
Yes. Yes. And Jim Carrey had no problem with that until he became super famous.
But there's that other one too where he's like, I forget the name of this other one but he gets like, I think it had like something Beverly in there, and she's the vampire, and the kid's like a high school kid, and he's like, I remember the song like my future's so bright I gotta wear shades. Do you know what we were talking about?
I don't, but I feel like I remember something about my future's so bright I gotta wear shades.
And he's like, and he goes like to like real late at night. He goes to like some like butcher shop, and he has to like order like pig's blood or something like that because he's starting to turn into a vampire. I'm already telling you it's going to be a female vampire. So if you guys haven't taken a hint so far.
Oh, let's face it. There's one of the immediate ironies. Oh, yeah. I want the she-wolf. That's a hard pass.
Maybe if I was somebody like in Nebraska or something that screws sheep or something, I'd be like, yeah, man, check out that dog's ass.
I think that's not in Nebraska. I'm praying that's not even in America. Let's make America great again.
check out that Warewolf's ass. Yeah, man, let's go take that.
Yeah. You know what I want to do?
I suppose if you're
become a sheep man.
Suppose if you're into like bestiality or something like that, yeah, then maybe you might go after the werewolf. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think for females, there is a difference where there is a werewolf masculine toxicity.
Yeah, it's probably those women that puts peanut butters on their private parts and have their dogs lick it.
Dude, this Scotch has slapped you hard. Dude, when your mom hears this, I'll be like, sorry, Mom. No, it went on a Jesse tangent. I'm not used to it either. I'm still recovering. Need to go back to the art museum.
You know, there's I used to have a nickname for a little while called O-Stiff, one step too far.
I mean,
I'm not sure if I went O-Stiff there.
I don't know that you did either. I'm just saying.
Maybe close. I think I might have been pushing the line.
Sometimes you have to think, what would my mom say? It's not about Jesus anymore. What would mother say?
Hey, I think I'm usually pretty clean.
You are usually. So that's that piece.
I can tell you, if my mom never watched our show, I probably would be more O-Stiff.
There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, that's as general as it's going to get going forward.
So what's our Scotch?
Oh, the Scotch. The Lowlands. A Bothan.
I got friends in the
expressions. Yeah. There's got to be some song, right? Maybe we'll do that for the next episode. We're going to come up with some little lyrics. I got friends in Lowlands where the Scotch is.
Where the Scotch runs and the beer chases
I don't know.
the blues away.
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
Until the werewolf comes. So, Bothan single malt sherry expression. Lowland Scotch is one of the regions we visited less frequently than others. Interested in trying this variety, however. So, that'll be next week. And then, you had mentioned something. I'm not sure if you have an idea what you want to do for your next idea or not. But I think for us, for me, I need to give us some notice because what I'm realizing is how soon things are packing up. So either 2 weeks or 4 weeks from now, depending on when we can get in one, my smarter challenge for us is to go do an escape room.
Oh, okay.
I've never done one.
Never done one?
Nah.
They're fun. We should probably get more than just us two, though.
That's what I figured. So we'll say that could be 2 weeks from now, that could be 4 weeks from now, but just so you guys know, that is coming. If you have suggestions, ideas, if you own one, if you suggest yours, if you want us to come visit yours, send us some info so we can know where that is. Because again, it's going to be my first time and I'm looking forward to having fun. I usually think I'm a pretty smart guy. This might make me feel a little more humble. You never know. I might just totally miss it.
Sometimes, like around October, they'll have like Halloween type themed ones too. Supposedly in Vegas, there's this like really cool like Walking Dead one where zombies are after you and stuff like that.
I'm in.
All right. Anything else we need to say before we say goodbye to the peeps?
No, please continue to give us feedback. We can use that feedback. We appreciate the feedback sincerely. Like, share, subscribe, help us get a little bit further out there. Let us know what you do like, what you don't like. If there's some smarter challenges you want to see, tell us that. If you own a business and you want us to come visit, let us know. We're happy to do that. And if you want to give us if you want to give us a taste beforehand, let us know this is what you're going to experience. Then we can definitely keep that in mind because not everyone wants to be what we necessarily look for in a bar or a restaurant, a museum, or any number of things, tank deprivation tank facility, any of these things. So let us know if you're interested so we can work together. We can have an experience. That's part of it for me. I know that's part of it for Noah, and we can celebrate that. But also remember to drink responsibly. One of the reasons we do this show at home, or we always have a driver, is because we want to make sure we don't drink and drive. So drink responsibly, and remember, life is great.
Life is great.
Dude, life is great.
I mean, think about this, right?
When we can knock a 19-year-old Scotch that's great, that means we've tried hundreds, all right? Just so you know.
So at this point, we've tried at least 81 different Scotches, roughly.
On the show, far more than that.
Yeah, in real life. And then like almost like 81 different restaurants. You know, and a lot of the, like, we think about, like, you know, things that we went out and we have experienced and stuff. So, yeah, life is definitely great.
It's great.
And, you know, one thing with life is great is that really life is about experiences. It really, truly is. So if all you're doing is going to work, coming home, and going to bed, you might as well just go find a graveyard. Because really life is about experiences. I get like there's responsibilities. We all have responsibilities. We all have debts and stuff like that we have to pay and take care of, and people that we are looking out for. But you got to learn to take some time out for yourself and gain some new experiences, because that's what makes life great.
It is.
All right. For me saying goodbye here, once again, please leave comments down below. For those of you who do watch or listen to us and you do enjoy our podcast, please become a patron member. You can do it for as low as $1. It's in the commentary. It's the very first link there. It's the Podbean patrons. I want to give a shout out to the one Uruguay listener that we got this month here.
It's a soccer player for sure.
For sure, right? And then to the Japanese listeners, thank you once again for all of you who are listening to us there in Japan. And then the other biggest one here is those people who listen to us in the States here. So thank you to you guys.
Chi-town.
Oddly enough, Illinois is a little bit blank this month. That's usually one of our bigger states of listeners. But in any case, thank you again, everybody. Hopefully you have a wonderful and safe week. We look forward to talking with you again next week, and enjoy your Scotch and Scotchman.
Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.